Welcome to the deep dive. If you're operating in this everything as a service economy, selling software, subscriptions, managed services, complex deals, you probably know that things are moving so fast. Just the velocity is hitting a speed that, well, legacy revenue operations just can't keep up. We're way beyond simple transactions now. It's about managing this whole continuous relationship, right? But the old way, static tools, data all over the place, reactive reports, that structure, it's not really helping growth anymore. It's actually creating some serious friction, especially in that really critical quote-to-cash process.
That's exactly right. That friction, it takes the whole promise of high-velocity selling and turns it into, well, an operational nightmare, trying to fulfill and build these complex deals. So our mission here in this deep dive is really to move beyond just simple automation. The AI that just maybe drafts an email for you. We want to explore how we can actually establish truly intelligent, collaborative AI systems. We're not just talking about tools anymore. We're talking about proactive, specialized teammates. Teammates that fundamentally redefine how you manage revenue growth. The real challenge, the core of it, is knitting together sales, finance, and operations, making sure that whatever promise sales makes up front can actually be delivered profitably and seamlessly recognized by the back office. This is really revenue reinvented.
Okay, so the sources we're drawing on today, they're strategic guides, frameworks, really digging into agentic AI, multi-agent systems, and this blueprint for a new revenue architecture. We're calling it the multi-agent revenue operating system, or MAROS for short.
hmm And the central idea, the big theme here, is this shift, moving away from just keeping records and basic workflow automation towards embracing autonomous, goal-oriented revenue orchestration. If you're a commercial leader listening, this is how you unlock that predictable, profitable growth, especially in a world just full of complexity and, frankly, overwhelming data.
All right, let's dig into that. Let's start by deconstructing this new kind of team. We need to understand the foundational shift in AI itself, this idea of the agentic imperative. For listeners, what does that really mean when we say AI has gone from passive to agentic?
It's a huge shift, a complete paradigm shift, really. It moves the tech from, let's say, the passenger seat right into the driver's seat. Traditionally, AI was rules-based,
Yeah.
passive. It just sat there waiting for a human to punch in data or click a button. Then it would do a predefined task, reactive, basically. Agentic AI, though,
Mm.
it's different. It's an intelligent system. It can perceive its environment. It can set a goal. It can plan out a whole sequence of actions, multi-step actions. And it operates independently to achieve that goal with, minimal supervision. It's autonomous. It doesn't just wait for you to tell it what to do. It actually looks for opportunities to act. And crucially, it adjusts its actions if the environment changes.
Wow, okay. So that independence, that changes everything, doesn't it? An agent doesn't need constant hand-holding. It could, what, look at a calendar, read an email thread, check inventory through an API, and then decide the next best step to move a deal forward. Oh, without someone clicking, go.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting, particularly for those complex B2B sales cycles. Single agents, no matter how smart they are, they're usually not enough for these messy, nonlinear, cross-functional workflows we see every day. And that's where the multi-agent system, or MAS, becomes absolutely essential.
Ah, the power of collaboration, like a team.
Precisely. Think of MAS as a highly specialized team, but decentralized. You need distributed intelligence, just like you need a team of human experts, right? Finance folks, legal, supply chain managers, to structure and deliver a complex product or service. You need a multi-agent system where these specialized agents share intelligence. They coordinate. They're constantly exchanging information to tackle problems that no single agent could handle alone. And that leads to smarter, collective decisions.
So we're not just building a better chatbot here. We're actually building an intelligent, integrated organization, almost like a digital workforce layer. Okay, so if leaders are starting down this path, they absolutely need to define the roles clearly, because I hear agent and copilot thrown around a lot, sometimes interchangeably. Can we really nail down the distinction? Augmentation versus actual action.
Yes, and this distinction is absolutely critical for making smart, strategic investments. Let's start with AI copilots. Their function is strictly augmentation. Their goal is just to enhance human performance, usually in real time. So a copilot gives you suggestions, support, context. Think about those prompts you might get during a sales call for handling objections, right? Or a tool that quickly summarizes the latest account activity for you. They're like an intelligent interface assisting human judgment. But critically, copilots have high human dependency. They need to be validated, reviewed, triggered by the user. They make the human faster and smarter.
Got it. The human is still firmly in control, but they've got a powerful assistant. And the agents, they're the ones that actually take the ball and run with it, so to speak.
Exactly. AI agents are the true specialized apps of this AI era. They are tools designed specifically to achieve multi-step goals autonomously. Now, they still have medium human dependency. You need initial setup, you need guardrails, you definitely need mandatory human-in-the-loop reviews for high-risk things or exceptions.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they're built to act independently. They execute the entire workflow.
Can you give an example of an agent?
Sure. A great example is an agent that manages complex scheduling, say across multiple global time zones. It ensures all the necessary internal compliance docs are gathered first, and then it updates maybe 3 different CRM fields once it's done, all without a human stepping in for each step. So the copilot suggests what to do, the agent actually does it.
Okay, that distinction is super clear and important.
It allows us to then map out this strategic maturity gradient for selling within an organization. You usually start with what we call augmented selling. That's copilot heavy. AI suggests the next best actions. Then you progress to assisted selling. That's more of a hybrid model. The AI acts like a real-time partner. It might be listening to the customer, prompting the seller, maybe drafting immediate follow-ups. Here, the agent often handles the administrative tasks after the conversation.
And the final stage, the ultimate goal for some areas.
Autonomous selling. This is agent heavy. Here, the AI independently engages with customers, maybe from qualification right through to closing, or at least managing the entire fulfillment process autonomously.
Right, and this level of autonomy seems absolutely essential for managing that long tail of smaller, maybe more transactional accounts, doesn't it? The ones that human sellers often can't cover profitably just because of the cost structure.
Exactly. Autonomous agents let you expand your market coverage, scale your outreach capacity, without just ballooning your fixed headcount costs. It frees up your human experts to really focus on those high-value, complex, strategic deals where their judgment is most needed.
So the strategic takeaway here is crystal clear investment focus.
Absolutely. Absolute clarity. If you confuse what a copilot can do, which is assistance, with what an agent can do, which is attraction, you're setting yourself up for failed deployment. You have to know. Are you investing in a better driver's assistant, something that keeps the human alert and effective? Or are you investing in a fully self-driving revenue engine designed to operate independently within very clear guardrails? Most companies, frankly, probably need both. But they have to be clear on which job each tool is actually doing.
Okay, so we have this potential new team of specialized autonomous agents, but they can't just float around independently, right? We need structure. This shift to multi-agent AI, you mentioned it's fundamentally an architectural challenge, and that demands this MAROS, the multi-agent revenue operating system. Why is that central system so necessary? Why can't we just deploy agents like standalone apps?
Because if you do that, they just become another layer of fragmentation, another silo, essentially. The MAROS is necessary precisely to move beyond those isolated applications. It ensures that intelligence flows naturally, frictionlessly, between all the different phases of the customer journey, from that initial forecast and dynamic quoting all the way through ordering, delivery, and even renewal. It forces that unity across sales, finance, and operations.
Okay, so it's the glue. But to really understand the MAROS, you said we need to understand the building blocks of an agent itself. What makes it truly autonomous and reliable in an enterprise setting?
Right. There are 5 critical components for any agent to function autonomously and reliably in a complex business environment.
Let's slow down and break these down, because this feels like the difference between just a fancy script and a truly intelligent system. What's first?
First is perception. This is the agent's ability to take in and interpret data from its environment. And this goes way beyond just reading a spreadsheet. It has to ingest and understand unstructured text, things like email sentiment, call transcripts, while also analyzing structured data like CRM records, product usage logs, and even monitoring external signals like economic indicators or competitor moves. Its ability to see and understand the full context is foundational.
Okay, perception. Got it. What's number 2?
Second is reasoning and planning. This is the strategic brain, if you will. When an agent gets a high-level goal, like structure a competitive renewal package for this high-risk client, it needs to logically break that goal down into a sequence of actionable steps, a multi-step plan. It needs foresight to anticipate potential conflicts or dependencies between those steps.
Yes, it needs a strategy. Third.
Third is tool use or execution. This is its ability to actually do things in the world. The agent uses APIs, application programming interfaces, to interact with all those existing enterprise systems. Your CRM, your ERP, the billing system, the CPQ engine. If an agent can't actually perform actions in the real digital environment. It's just a glorified analyst, right, that
Right.
needs to execute.
Right, it needs hands. Okay, fourth, this one seems crucial for B2B.
Absolutely. Fourth is memory. B2B sales cycles. They can be long, 12 months, 18 months, sometimes even longer. The agent must maintain deep contextual memory across those long interactions. It needs to remember that maybe the client had a negative service experience 6 months ago, or that a specific discount they got 2 years back was tied to certain usage thresholds. This long-term memory prevents repetitive mistakes and ensures strategic consistency over time.
Yeah, you don't want the agent asking the same dumb question twice, months apart. Okay, and the fifth component.
And finally, adaptability. The MAROS operates in a really dynamic world, right? Things change constantly. So the agent has to be able to adjust its plan in real time based on unexpected shifts. A competitor suddenly drops their price. A key decision maker leaves the client organization. An internal supply chain issue pops up. Adaptability ensures the agent stays focused on the goal, even when the environment throws curveballs. It needs to reroute, essentially.
Perception, reasoning planning, tool use, memory, adaptability. Got it. Those five make up an autonomous agent. So once we have all these smart pieces, a forecast agent, a risk agent, maybe that scout agent we talked about, how do they actually talk to each other effectively? And maybe more importantly, who makes sure they don't step on each other's toes or contradict each other or just duplicate work? Who's the air traffic controller in this system?
That is the absolutely critical role of the orchestrator agent. You can think of it as the strategic agent, the central nervous system for the entire MAROS. Its core job is managing communication and the flow of tasks. It acts as the decomposition engine. So you give it a really complex cross-functional request, something like finalize the quarterly forecast, ensure all the compliance checks are done, and prep the renewal strategy for our top 10 accounts. That's a huge task touching multiple departments.
Okay, but hang on. Historically, orchestration layers can become bottlenecks themselves, right? If this orchestrator agent is doing all that heavy lifting decomposition, routing, monitoring, how does the MAROS design stop the orchestrator itself from slowing everything down? That seems like a risk.
That's a very valid concern. And it's addressed through clever design, specifically using things like the agent-to-agent A2A protocol and standardized interfaces. The orchestrator doesn't actually execute every single tiny task. Its primary role is to break down the big request, figure out the sequence, and then route the specific subtasks to the appropriate specialized utility agents. It makes sure the necessary context gets passed along, but the highly specialized agents handle the actual high-volume work, checking inventory, calculating risk, drafting a document. The orchestrator manages the workflow and sequences calls to external tools when needed.
Okay, so it delegates intelligently.
Exactly. And beyond just workflow, the orchestrator serves as the fundamental governance nexus. This is crucial. Uncontrolled autonomy. That's a recognized systemic risk. It can lead to compliance failures, security breaches, data chaos. So the orchestrator enforces deterministic guardrails. It manages data access security. It coordinates those mandatory human-in-the-loop (HITL) gates for sensitive or high-risk actions. What this means is that governance isn't just some checklist you do afterwards. It's baked right into the workflow execution itself. Safety and speed can coexist.
That governance piece is huge, and this whole coordination capability seems key to finally overcoming that massive data fragmentation we always struggle with between, say, CRM, ERP, and billing systems. Commercial predictability is basically impossible if finance can't easily see if the deal sales just closed is actually feasible from an operations standpoint, right? This speaks to the interoperability mandate.
Absolutely. That need for seamless data flow across the entire quote-to-cash journey, it's completely non-negotiable for predictable revenue. And this is why the industry is moving towards things like the agent-to-agent A2A protocol. Think of A2A as kind of like a universal translator or communication standard for agents. It allows agents built on different platforms, maybe even from different vendors, to actually talk to each other. They can publish their capabilities. Hey, I can check inventory, or I can calculate margin risk, and then negotiate how they interact. This open communication is vital. It helps minimize vendor lock-in. And more importantly, it ensures that critical data exchange happens smoothly for true end-to-end revenue lifecycle management. That's the name of the game in the subscription economy.
Okay, this MAROS architecture makes sense. Let's move into how it actually transforms things on the ground. Starting with Pillar 1, intelligent opportunity sensing and go-to-market design. How do we find and qualify opportunities better? You mentioned earlier that sellers today are often just drowning in cognitive noise. This huge volume of data, internal logs, external trends, competitor news, it just overwhelms them. They waste time chasing weak leads because they can't sift through it all fast enough to spot the real high-intent signals.
That's the daily struggle for so many sales teams. And the analytical AI agent is designed precisely to cut through that noise. It works autonomously in the background, constantly synthesizing internal signals like maybe subtle changes in how customers are adopting certain product features or the frequency of support tickets from an account. And it integrates that with external events like a big competitor announcement or new regulations popping up in a specific industry or region. The key is, it doesn't just surface raw data points, it synthesizes them. It ranks the most influential drivers impacting revenue, often uncovering complex, non-obvious connections that a human analyst, frankly, would probably miss. For instance, it might correlate, say, a specific geopolitical event in one region with a sudden localized spike in demand for a particular service add-on, allowing the GTM team to adjust strategy almost immediately.
Wow. So we're shifting from sellers having to manually pull reports, which is slow and prone to interpretation errors, to the MAAI proactively pushing actionable intelligence out.
Exactly. That's the concept of the smart push system. Instead of pulling, it pushes. The MAAI proactively suggests the most relevant content, the key customer context, the next best steps, directly to the right decision makers, whether that's a sales leader, an account executive, or even a marketing manager. This fundamentally shifts where humans spend their time. Less time on data admin and report chasing, more time on high-value stuff like building relationships and refining strategy.
And this predictive intelligence, it makes truly adaptive, personalized sales strategies possible at scale, doesn't it? Like hyper-personalization at scale. The AI can analyze deep customer data, past buying behavior, website clicks, industry trends, and segment audiences with incredible granularity. Then it can customize the content, maybe even the initial offer dynamically. It feels like bringing that seamless, relevant B2C e-commerce experience into the complex B2B world.
Precisely. And that level of personalization directly fuels better in-market account prioritization. Multi-agent systems can aggregate signals from all sorts of places: website heat maps, third-party intent data providers, internal CRM activity logs. It doesn't just give you a flat list of accounts. It figures out which accounts are actively showing signs of being in specific buying stages right now. So maybe a prospect visits your pricing or configuration page multiple times this week. The system flags that as high conviction, late-stage intent. Boom. That triggers an immediate, tailored alert to the sales team, maybe even with suggested talking points for outreach. If they're just browsing the blog, maybe they get routed to a specialized marketing agent for content nurturing instead. This proactive guidance makes sure your valuable human resources are focused squarely on the accounts most likely to convert right when they're ready.
Let's talk about the agent doing this heavy lifting, the scout agent. It's described sometimes as an always-on, high-speed sales research analyst. How does that change a seller's day-to-day reality?
Imagine a seller targets a big strategic account, but maybe they don't have an internal champion yet. Very limited context. Historically, what do? They spend hours, maybe days, manually digging through LinkedIn, reading dense annual reports, searching news archives. It's painstaking work.
Yeah, I've been there. It's a time sink.
The scout agent basically replaces that manual grind with immediate massive scale. It goes way beyond just finding contact names. It builds comprehensive prospect profiles. It incorporates real-time competitive intel like, hey, this prospect just signed a deal with competitor X. It might analyze the decision maker's job history to guess likely pain points. And then it generates a tailored outreach strategy. Maybe it drafts 5 distinct LinkedIn connection requests and 3 different email opening lines, each angled at a specific pain point it identified. All in minutes, not days.
That's a game changer for productivity. But if the goal is truly better pipeline, not just faster research, how should leaders measure the success of these sensing agents? It can't just be tasks completed, right?
Absolutely not. The measurement has to reflect the strategic value delivered, not just efficiency. Leaders need to measure sensing agents based on pipeline quality. Specifically, look at the conversion lift on the opportunities they surface. Track the strategic pipeline generated the value of deals that originated from insights these agents uncovered. You need to track the ROI of those dark insights, the things a human might have missed. If the agent identifies a latent need that leads to a big strategic win, that's the metric that matters. The ROI here is measured by the quality, velocity, and size of the opportunities created, not just the time saved on background research.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, let's move to the second transformation pillar: offer design, quoting, and negotiation augmentation. This is where the rubber really meets the road, where commercial ambition bumps up against operational reality, and it's where profitability, promise to finance, can just evaporate through bad quotes or too much discounting. You mentioned the era of the static price book is kind of ending.
It really is, or it needs to. AI agents enable true dynamic pricing. They can continuously analyze a whole host of contextual variables in real time. Things like current market conditions, internal fulfillment costs right now, historical customer feedback on similar deals, competitor pricing benchmarks. And based on all that, they can refine pricing, optimize discount levels, maybe even adjust the recommended product or service mix for that specific customer. Right now, it moves the organization beyond just simple configure, price, quote, CPQ, to true optimization of the margin potential for every single offer.
But protecting that margin, that seems like the hardest part.
It often is. And arguably, the single most critical MAAI deployment for protecting profitability is the go-no-go agent. For disciplined, profitable growth, this agent acts like an automated, completely non-emotional internal auditor on every potential deal.
An auditor sounds potentially painful for sales teams.
Well, margin erosion often happens because sales teams, understandably driven by quarterly targets, sometimes push through deals that are just fundamentally unprofitable. Maybe because of hidden fulfillment costs, or excessive customization promised, or delivery timelines that operations simply can't meet. And often this isn't discovered until months later when it's too late.
Okay, so the go-no-go agent sounds like it could be the ultimate corporate roadblock. How do we make sure this doesn't just stifle velocity entirely?
Yeah.
Or become the place where innovative, maybe slightly unusual, but potentially valuable, custom deals just go to die?
That's the key design challenge, absolutely. And the answer lies in making the MAROS optimized for disciplined velocity, not just speed at any cost. There's usually a specialized risk agent working alongside it. This agent calculates a comprehensive risk score for every deal early in the pipeline. And importantly, it doesn't just say no. It provides the data-driven reasons why a deal might be flagged as high risk. Its explicit job is to enforce those internal constraints that a human seller, perhaps incentivized purely by commission, might overlook or downplay. Things like the mandatory profit floor for this product line, current supply chain capacity, specific financial compliance rules. It prevents the whole organization from wasting precious human effort, sales time, legal review, solution engineering resources on deals that simply cannot be delivered profitably as promised. Automated workflows consolidate all these risk flags, ensuring the key decision makers see the full picture and get aligned before significant resources are sunk into a doomed deal.
That really is the core difference, isn't it? Moving from a growth at any cost mindset to a predictable, profitable growth model. It forces financial discipline right into the front-end sales motion.
Exactly. And it also allows for continuous, real-time monitoring of deals already in the pipeline. We call it applying critical healthcare monitoring principles to deals. Once a deal is active, you can have a coordinated team of agents, maybe a beta agent, a monitoring agent, a risk stratification agent constantly tracking its vital signs. They monitor customer engagement levels. Are they opening emails, attending meetings? They analyze sentiment from communication logs. Are discussions positive, negative, stalling? For expansion deals, they track internal feature usage. Is adoption growing or shrinking? They proactively flag accounts showing signs of risk, bringing them to human attention immediately. For example, maybe the key stakeholder who was championing the deal suddenly leaves the client company, or pilot feature usage drops 40% month over month. The MAROS triggers an immediate coordinated alert. This shifts deal management away from just reactive pipeline reviews towards proactive, highly targeted intervention on the deals that need it most.
Okay, so the agents are handling a lot of the risk assessment and data monitoring, but the human seller is still absolutely crucial for the actual negotiation, especially complex ones. This is where the copilot comes back into play in that augmentation role you described earlier. We're talking real-time negotiation coaching.
Yes, precisely. The negotiation copilot leverages conversational intelligence. It listens to the live sales call, picking up on cues. Maybe the customer pushes back hard on pricing, or they mention a specific competitor by name, or you hear hesitation around implementation timelines. The copilot can then provide real-time, discrete coaching prompts directly to the seller. Suggested phrasing to counter a common objection. Reminders of specific competitive differentiators relevant to that point.
Like having an expert coach whispering in your ear, but silently.
Exactly. And its value extends beyond the live call itself. Think about a complex, maybe 2-hour negotiation call. It generates a lot of information and action items. The copilot can instantly automate the post-call hygiene. It captures detailed notes, summarizes the key agreements or concession points, suggests immediate next steps right in the CRM, maybe even updates relevant fields in the ERP or configuration system. This alone can save the sales rep hours of tedious administrative work after every significant call. It ensures critical deal context is captured accurately and consistently, and that follow-up actions happen immediately, maintaining deal momentum.
That admin automation alone sounds incredibly valuable.
It really is. It frees up sellers to focus on the next strategic interaction.
Okay, let's move to the third pillar, which is crucial for the everything as a service world. Fulfillment, delivery, and managing the renewal ecosystem. The job isn't done when the contract is signed.
Emphatically not. This pillar is arguably where long-term customer lifetime value, LTV, is either cemented or lost. And that traditional handoff between sales and customer success, CS, is often plagued by high friction, usually because crucial context gets lost in translation. That missing context is a major revenue killer downstream.
Yeah, the classic scenario. Sales throws the signed contract over the wall to the CS or implementation team and hopes they can figure out what the customer really wanted from a dense legal document.
Exactly. The MAAI architecture mandates what we call the unified revenue lifecycle, specifically to eliminate this friction point. It ensures that crucial high-context information, things like the specific success criteria the customer agreed to, their desired business outcomes, any non-negotiable delivery deadlines or technical requirements is automatically captured during the sales process. And then this rich context is seamlessly transferred to the customer success team before they even start the onboarding process. That smooth, informed post-sale experience drives much higher product adoption rates, builds stronger customer loyalty, and directly translates into higher LTV and lower churn.
This unified view must also bring stability to the back office functions, right? Which is critical for managing cash flow and ensuring compliance. Let's look at the finance agent. Often overlooked, but sounds incredibly important.
Tremendously important. The financial close process, compliance reviews, revenue recognition. These are frequently major bottlenecks in organizations. They slow down cash flow recognition and significantly increase audit risk. The finance agent is designed specifically to accelerate that time to revenue and bring predictability to cash flow.
How does it do that?
Think about a complex multi-year subscription deal. Maybe it involves usage-based billing tiers, bundled professional services, multiple performance obligations under accounting rules. It gets complicated fast. The finance agent can autonomously handle many of the manual compliance checks and validation steps. It could trace individual journal entries back to the specific terms in the original contract. It enforces complex accounting standards like ASC 606 for revenue recognition automatically.
So like a continuous automated auditor.
In a sense, yes. By constantly monitoring transactions against contract terms and regulatory requirements, it dramatically reduces audit risk. It can auto-generate many of the necessary regulatory reports. Crucially, it ensures that the speed and agility gained in the front office sales process doesn't inadvertently introduce uncontrolled financial risk or compliance failures in the back office.
That seamless link between the sales promise and the financial compliance and reality, that sounds revolutionary for many companies. But the promise also has to align with physical or operational reality, especially if you're selling anything beyond pure software. This is where the supply chain agent fits in.
Absolutely. Everything is a service offering that includes physical components, maybe specialized hardware, guaranteed network bandwidth that requires provisioning, complex on-site installation services. The supply chain agent is essential. And it needs to be integrated directly into the quoting workflow before the final quote goes out. It conducts real-time feasibility checks. Can we actually get this hardware? What are the current lead times from our suppliers based on global logistics right now? What are the up-to-the-minute costs for these components or services? Do we have the operational capacity to deliver this by the promised date? This capability minimizes nasty surprises like supply disruptions after the deal is signed. It eliminates those costly and embarrassing post-sale changes or delays that absolutely destroy profit margins and, more importantly, customer trust. It guarantees that the deal isn't just profitable on paper, but actually feasible to deliver successfully and on time.
Okay, promise, finance, delivery.
Okay.
That brings us to the engine of LTV, proactive renewal management. How does the MAROS optimize retention?
This is where the renewal specialist agent comes in. It leverages all that comprehensive, predictive intelligence gathered across the entire customer lifecycle. It analyzes usage patterns or key features being adopted. Is usage declining? It looks at customer sentiment from support interactions and surveys. It tracks engagement metrics. They're attending webinars, downloading resources. Its job is to constantly monitor for critical leading indicators of potential churn.
What kind of indicators?
It could be anything concerning. Maybe a significant drop, say 35% in usage of a core feature among the executive sponsors team over the last 2 months, or a sudden, unexpected change in who the primary technical contact is at the client. These signals trigger proactive intervention flags. They ensure that human specialists, the customer success managers or account managers, engage with these potentially at-risk accounts well before the actual renewal deadline comes up. The goal isn't just to save the renewal at the last minute, it's to turn those potential attrition signals into opportunities for growth. Maybe the usage drop indicates a need for retraining, or highlights an opportunity to upsell them to a module that better meets their evolving needs. It's about proactively managing that relationship for long-term value.
Right, turning retention insights directly into growth opportunities.
Exactly.
Okay, we've covered a lot about autonomy, speed, intelligence, but this only works if it's trustworthy and controllable, right? Let's get into the final section. The trust playbook governance and the crucial human factor.
Yes, and this is absolutely critical. Without rigorous, well-designed control measures, all this autonomy and velocity just introduces systemic chaos and potentially massive compliance exposure. For commercial leaders listening, I can't stress this enough. AI governance is no longer just some peripheral compliance checkbox you tick. It is a strategic revenue enabler.
How so? How does governance enable revenue?
Think about it. Transparency in how you use data, clarity in how you arrive at decisions like pricing. This builds buyer trust. And trust is the essential lubricant for pipeline velocity, especially in B2B. When customers trust you, they're more likely to engage deeply, share information, and commit faster. This is particularly critical for breaking into regulated industries or landing those large, complex enterprise accounts where scrutiny is high. Trust equals speed and access.
Okay, so the chief revenue officer really needs to own this governance framework. Let's quickly run through the 5 pillars our sources identify for governing an MARS effectively. What's pillar 1?
Pillar 1, transparency and explainability. Any AI-driven decision that significantly impacts revenue, whether it's how leads are scored, how dynamic pricing is set, or how deal risk is calculated, must be traceable and auditable. This requires adopting Y-logs as a standard operational procedure.
Y logs. Explain that.
Y-logs are essentially the audit trail of the AI's judgment. They don't just show you the final output, like the price or the risk score. They show you, step by step, how the agent got there. Which data inputs did it consider most important? What reasoning steps did it follow? Why did it choose this specific discount level? Or why did it prioritize client X's renewal outreach over client Y's? If there's ever a dispute or an internal audit or regulatory inquiry, you can literally replay the agent's decision-making process. That's fundamental for building and maintaining trust, both internally and externally.
Got it. Traceability, pillar 2.
Pillar 2, data integrity and privacy. This is foundational. It involves mandatory, unified data cleansing processes and continuous monitoring of all data flowing into the MAROS. You absolutely must prevent historical biases lurking in your old data from propagating into your new AI models. For example, a lead scoring model that inadvertently penalizes prospects from certain geographies or industries. And of course, rigorous protection of customer privilege and personally identifiable information, PII, is non-negotiable to comply with global privacy regulations like GDPR or CCPA. Data quality and privacy are table stakes.
Okay, pillar 3.
Pillar 3, human oversight and accountability, HITL. Autonomy doesn't mean zero human involvement. We must clearly designate human ownership for the outcomes generated by agents. Who is accountable if the pricing agent makes a mistake? The MAROS design requires mandatory human-in-the-loop gates for certain situations, usually high-risk exceptions, like a deal proposing a discount far beyond normal thresholds, or when the AI itself indicates low confidence in its output for a particularly complex or novel scenario. A well-designed HITL system actually adds intelligence. It doesn't just create friction. The AI handles routine 95% of tasks efficiently, escalating only the truly nuanced, ambiguous, or high-stakes cases for expert human review and judgment.
Right, leveraging humans for their unique strengths. Pillar 4.
Pillar 4, bias and fairness auditing. This goes beyond just data cleansing. It means regularly, proactively auditing the decision models themselves, particularly those involved in resource allocation like lead distribution algorithms or dynamic pricing mechanisms. You need to check them specifically for equitable opportunity distribution and ensure they aren't creating or reinforcing systemic discrimination, even unintentionally. This isn't just a compliance issue. It's fundamental for maintaining market reputation and ensuring ethical operations.
And the final pillar, number 5.
And pillar 5, continuous monitoring and learning. You absolutely must treat the MAROS as a living, evolving system, not a one-time install. This means integrating key governance KPIs, things like model drift detection, output accuracy rates over time, maybe bias scores directly into your executive revenue dashboards, right alongside traditional metrics like pipeline value and win rate. This ensures the system's performance and fairness are continuously tracked and improved, and that governance remains a visible indicator of strategic success, not an afterthought.
Those 5 pillars provide a strong framework. But there's another, perhaps more subtle, human factor risk we need to address. The potential for skills atrophy among the human sellers themselves. The convenience of having agents and copilots doing so much instant summaries, pre-drafted emails, real-time talking points, it encourages what behavioral scientists call cognitive offloading. Right, while that definitely improves immediate task performance, the email gets sent faster, there's a potential downside. Research suggests that over-reliance can actually diminish the seller's own ability to recall critical details from memory, to connect disparate pieces of information creatively, and maybe, most importantly, to think critically and adapt in those truly novel, high-stakes, ambiguous sales situations. Is there a risk that the short-term convenience could erode long-term human capability?
This is a very real risk, and perhaps one of the most critical trade-offs for leaders to manage proactively as they deploy these systems. We absolutely must design workflows where AI functions as augmentation, not replacement. The goal of the MAROS should be to make the human seller better, sharper, more capable, not inadvertently duller or overly reliant.
So how do you do that? How do you cultivate cognitive resilience?
Leaders need to be intentional about it. Mandate workflows where sellers are required to use the AI output as a starting point, a draft, or a reference, not just blindly accept it as the final answer. For instance, maybe the policy is that a seller must add specific personalization to an AI-drafted email, or they need to challenge the AI's pricing recommendation based on qualitative context the AI might not have, or synthesize multiple AI-generated reports into their own strategic assessment before presenting it. The focus has to be on using AI to augment and free up time for uniquely human skills: emotional intelligence, nuanced judgment, complex relationship building, creative problem solving, rather than letting the AI handle all the heavy cognitive lifting. Training programs should also reinforce these critical thinking skills in the context of using AI tools.
That makes sense. Keep the human brain engaged. And finally, let's talk about seller adoption. That trust gap can be a huge impediment, can't it? If sellers don't trust the guidance from the MAROS, it just becomes expensive shelfware.
Absolutely. Building seller trust is paramount. It starts with data transparency. They need confidence that the underlying data feeding the AI is high quality, accurate, and truly representative of their world. Garbage in, garbage out applies more than ever. But, perhaps even more importantly, you need to institutionalize continuous feedback loops. Sellers are on the front lines. They'll often be the first to spot when a model starts to drift or when an AI recommendation doesn't quite fit a specific customer's unique situation. They need easy ways to provide that feedback, and they need to see that their feedback is actually used to improve the AI's training and performance over time. This active participation turns the AI from some mysterious, imposed black box into a tool that the seller feels they actively shape, refine, and ultimately can trust as a genuine partner in achieving their goals.
Excellent points. Okay, let's wrap up this deep dive. It's clear that the future of predictable, profitable commercial growth, especially in this everything as a service world, is really defined by the intelligent orchestration and rigorous governance of these multi-agent systems. It's all about making sure that the high-velocity, high-capacity engine you build on the front-end sales side is seamlessly, reliably backed by profitable, compliant execution across the entire back end, the full quote-to-cash journey.
That's the core message. And for the commercial leaders listening today, maybe we can distill this down to 4 non-negotiable strategic mandates that should guide your thinking and investment as you explore building out your MARS. First, mandate profitable autonomy. Don't just automate tasks, automate for profit. Prioritize deploying those strategic agents like the go-no-go agent and the finance agent, whose explicit purpose is to enforce internal constraints and financial discipline. This structurally shifts your organization's focus away from growth at any cost towards disciplined, profitable deal pursuit right from the very beginning of the cycle. Second, embed governance architecturally. Stop treating governance as a separate compliance burden or a cost center. Recognize it as a strategic enabler of trust and velocity. Invest in orchestration platforms and processes that mandate things like Y-logs and intelligent human-in-the-loop gates. This bridges the trust gap, ensures compliance, and ultimately secures buyer confidence. Third, invest seriously in contextual discovery. Measure the ROI of your sensing agents, those scout agents, based on true pipeline quality. Look at the conversion rates, the average deal sizes, the strategic value of the opportunities they uncover that you might have otherwise missed. Don't get seduced by simple administrative productivity gains alone. Focus on the quality of the pipeline they generate. And fourth, critically, cultivate cognitive resilience. Actively counteract that risk of skills atrophy we discussed.
Design augmented workflows, implement targeted training programs that force sellers to apply judgment, challenge assumptions, and use AI as a springboard for critical thinking, reinforcing the indispensable human element in high-value, complex sales.
Mandate profitable autonomy, embed governance architecturally, invest in contextual discovery, cultivate cognitive resilience. Got it. 4 powerful mandates. All right, here is the provocative final thought we'd like to leave our listeners with. The ultimate test of your future multi-agent revenue operating system. It won't just be about how quickly your agents can close a standard deal or how many administrative hours they save your team. The real test will be whether your human sales team, operating alongside all this powerful autonomy, remains sharper, more empathetic, more strategically insightful, and ultimately more capable of handling true complexity and ambiguity than they were before the AI was introduced. Because if the AI inadvertently makes your human team duller or less capable over time, you might be winning the battle for short-term efficiency, but you're almost certainly losing the long game of sustainable, continuous value creation. Think about that.